Well, welcome on in everyone to the Not from Philly podcast. We've had some technical difficulties this morning. It's been a right pain in the ass. But we're finally here now. Me and the boys, we're good to go. Justin, Corey and Drew, we're ready. There's been a lot of stuff going on this past couple of weeks. AJ Brown is no longer an Eagle. His time with the Birds is over. It was a
Yeah.
fun, wild, as you can see, Corey is all choked up over it. It was a wild 4 years. It was a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Obviously, we went to 2 Super Bowls with AJ. We won the Super Bowl. Do we win those Super Bowls with or without AJ Brown? That's the question. We'll never know. But a lot's gone on. A lot of stories have come out this week. A lot of interviews. A lot of opinions flying around on social media. What's right? What's wrong? So, guys, let's get into it. How do we feel about AJ Brown no longer being an Eagle? He's a New England Patriot. When he gets home from his games, he can hug his nice New England Patriots rug. Him and Mike Rabel can curl up on the floor together, and I'm sure they'll have a great time. So, Corey, since you've got obviously you've been all over WIP for months, the last couple of years, I suppose, as well. Obviously, issues with AJ Brown. So, Cor, as you lead off on WIP, I want you to lead us off today. How do you feel about Arthur Van Brown no longer being a part of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Arthur Brown. Look, so my thing with AJ Brown is like I don't want to get this I want to put this out there. I am very, very appreciative for what AJ Brown brought to the Eagles. I think AJ Brown, what he did here was great. It's a success, a major success. Great player, great talent. I appreciate that. But I'm glad he's out of here. And I don't understand. I don't think there's as much anymore, but I never understood how people used to justify the AJ Brown behavior. Well, he's not getting the ball and he's running. It's like, bro, listen. This man was literally a detriment to the football team. The blow-ups on the sideline, the not communicating with the quarterback. He told us out of his own mouth when him and Hurts were missing and they weren't connecting, he just went back to his seat and sat down. There was no stay after practice. There was no talking. And I think that came from him. We don't know. We're all fans. We're outside looking in. We know how Jalen Hurts views the game of football. We know how he wants to work. However you feel him as a player, I think his work ethic is not in question. I think he's probably one of the hardest workers we know. The fact that you were not willing to talk to your quarterback when you guys were not on the same page is crazy to me. I don't care how you feel about it. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, when obviously, you look back at when we drafted, when we traded for AJ Brown that night in 2022, and obviously you got the famous line from Ike Reese on draft night, now I'm awake. And we all felt like, man, things have changed big time. How he's finally got it right on draft night. You know what I mean? The year before, he drafted Devontae Smith and Landon Dickerson, and we had a decent 2021 season. There was hope, and then it was that final piece was AJ Brown. AJ comes in, changes the offense. It sparked a whole new way of the Eagles, how they wanted to play and how they wanted to attack the NFL going forward. And that first year with AJ Brown was incredible. And then obviously year after year it's dipped and dipped and dipped, and now we're in the position where he's traded. So I'll go to you now. How do you feel about AJ Brown's time as an Eagle and how it's all ended?
Yeah, I think one of the callers of the morning show this week said it best. Ding dong, the witch is dead. He's gone. We don't have to worry about it anymore. We've actually got some professionals at wide receiver who deserve that C patch on their chest in Devontae Smith. I know it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'll beat that some bitch till the cows come home.
I know.
It's over. It's done with. And then, we talked about putting out videos this week of our reactions to when it happened. I wanted to wait until some things came out, and I'm glad I did. because everything that came out with that interview with Maria Taylor and all the other rumors that we've seen flying about on the internet and on Twitter and everything, it just confirmed that much more that, like what Corey said, this man was a detriment to the team. And we've also seen things, some little sly things from BG, things that he's put out on Instagram, things that he's liked where people
BG
put out on
liking some wild
Instagram.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we know who the true leaders on that team are. We know that where a lot of the fault and blame lies in that situation. Like I said at the end of my little video, don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you, brother. See you.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts, and I still can't believe it. Like I remember seeing the video on the end of draft on draft night, and you saw Mike Rabel, and you could tell he was absolutely fuming when
Yeah.
AJ Brown was traded. Like he was so pissed off, and the last couple of years, the rumors have been flying about that he wanted out, and he's asked for trades, and it was we've started hearing things about New England. And it's crazy now that he left Mike Rabel and now he's back with Mike Rabel, and you've got all the stuff swirling around Mike Rabel with Diana Rossini and all this stuff, and you see the pictures and all this. So it's crazy that they're back together now. So Drew, how are you feeling about AJ no longer being an Eagle?
Yeah, so I completely understand your guys' feelings. I don't think I have quite as, strong feelings right now of like I don't hate him. I think Jordan Mailata, summed it up really well for me and just kind of like thank God it's over. Like I
Yeah.
saw, the tweet come across like 420, whatever it was on Monday, and I was just like, okay, like cool. We knew this was gonna happen for multiple months, and now we can move on. I think going back to one of the points Corey was making, if you guys think about it in retrospect now, going back to reading the book on the sideline during the Packers game, I think the Eagles pulled off a PR like masterclass there. I mean, the way they turned that into a positive in terms of involving the author, all the stuff. I mean, that should be in like, think about all these Philly schools like Temple, Drexel, Villanova, like that should be taught in like PR like classes right now. Like you could do a whole lecture on how, in kind of retrospect, ridiculous that was that in the fourth quarter of a playoff game with your season on the line and you're, just beat up reading a book on the on a sideline and all. Look, I think my like after just, and I know we'll get into it more, but after like hearing all the stuff this week, like my message to AJ would almost be like, bro, like you might be playing the wrong sport. Like go do like UFC or something. Like the beauty of football is it's the ultimate, team sport, right? And
Yeah.
like you're always, regardless of where you are, what team you're playing for, what quarterback you're playing with, you're always going to be dependent on other people to, make you look good to an extent. That's the profession you chose, especially the position with wide receiver, but really any position. Like there's no position you can play in sports where you're not dependent on someone else helping you. Even like Myles Garrett, who, obviously was in the news this week, breaking the sack record, like he still needs, the Browns, corners, even though some of them are probably scrubs, to cover receivers for a little bit to make the quarterback hold the ball to set the sack record. So I think AJ thinks that like a lot of his problems are just going to be solved in New England. And I just feel like he's going to wake up in October or November and it's going to be, really similar problems here. You can't, get away from those problems unless you just totally change your profession. So yeah, I'm at peace with it, and I think it's my guy, my guy Devontae. I don't know if I can get this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's your time. It's your time. 6 wide receiver 1. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I mean, there's no reason why Devontae can't step up to the plate. He's always more or less been a wide receiver one. That his rookie year, he was wide receiver one, wasn't he? You know what I mean? He was the best
Yeah.
receiver on the team. Him and Jalen had that instant connection that they carried over from Jalen's time in Alabama. So it was there, and Devontae's just grown better and better every year. And don't get me wrong, I was always, a couple of years ago, in 2023, when the AJ Brown stuff started happening, you started getting the reports coming out that him and Jalen didn't get along and they weren't friends anymore, and you could see the tension on the sidelines. I was always worried back then. I was like, would we still be a good team without AJ Brown? Can we still win? Because of that initial 2022 season, he made that much of an impact. And then obviously in 2023, he had those games where he was like, he was breaking like receiving records and things like that. And he was like, became a monster on the field. And it was just like, I always worried, can we be a good team? Can we have success without AJ Brown? And I think we can now, because I think how he, as like I say all the time, how he's learned from his lessons. He's drafted Mekhi Lemon now. Obviously, time will tell, see what Lemon is like if he transfers those good skills from USC over to the Eagles, and I don't see why he can't. We've brought in a couple of different other receivers as well to grow the room, to get that competition going in training camp. So, and the season's on. The season hasn't started yet, so maybe there's another move that how he can make somewhere. I don't know, but so let's look back, right? Because it's really interesting now. Like, obviously this week these stories have come out, and obviously we all know.
Real quick.
Yeah,
I
go
know
on, Cole.
normally don't do this, but Drew, not Drew, Adam, you always ask us how we feel. I need you to tell me how you feel. I need you to tell me how you feel about the whole AJ Brown thing, because like I feel like in the pod, you always come to us and then like you give like a recap of what we said. I want to know how you feel about like the whole thing.
How I feel.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I'll be honest, I was always worried that like we wouldn't be able to win without AJ Brown because of like how good he was, at the beginning. But then obviously when the stuff went on and we all started getting sick and tired of his bullshit, and the thing that finished it off for me, and don't get me wrong, right? I'll be honest, I wish he was still an Eagle, but obviously under better circumstances. Not like I don't want him on this team if what happened last year is going to carry on for another season and another season after that, because his contract was extended for another 2 years, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
I told Justin at the start before you guys came on, what's pissed me off the most is, and it's not a big thing, it's small really when you look back at all the crap that AJ has pulled, but when he went up on the Rocky steps for the Super Bowl parade and he spewed out to everyone that we tried to make him look that he was a diva and he only cared about stats, but one thing we can thing is that he's a champion. Well, yeah, you are a champion, but then the very next year you go and act like a little bloody baby, and you do care about stats. The effort wasn't there. I seen a video yesterday, right, that really, really brought it home for me and pissed me off. A good proper treat was all these clips of AJ giving up on the routes. And I remember listening back to WIP, Jalen getting the bloody blame for this, for that. And you could see it in the Broncos game, right? And I seen a picture yesterday, which really pissed me off, was, the Hail Mary that Jalen threw at the end of the Broncos game last year. And you see Jalen running down the field as fast as he can to try and get there himself. And Devontae and AJ both go up for the ball. And there's a picture. Now, this person could have, frozen the frame of the picture to manipulate it. I don't know. But it's a really interesting picture, right? It's going around on Twitter and stuff. AJ and Devontae, as you remember, they both went up for the ball the same time. AJ was behind Devontae. Devontae was clearly going to catch it in his hands. It was going, and AJ's arms are like wrapped around Devontae's neck and shoulders, practically preventing him from coming down with the bloody ball.
He should have had a damn Broncos uniform on, boys. He was tackling Devontae.
What's crazy about that situation, because like I remember that being talked about after, and it was like looking back, it's like we would have been, if we would have won that game, we would have been, I think, 5-0, right? I think we would have been
5-0.
Yeah,
win
yeah.
that game. So it's like, was AJ feeling like I can't go through this anymore if a win is a win? Because Devontae had a good chance of catching that football. And if he
Yes.
catches
Yeah,
it, we win that game. So it's like looking back, and I know this is all speculation, but it's like, was he thinking at that moment like I can't go through this again? Like we're not winning this game, so I'm gonna make sure he doesn't catch the ball.
It's crazy, right? The clips I was seeing, right? There was passes that Jalen threw to him over the middle in the Chargers game that we lost, and it's just like the half-assed effort. Like those were balls he could have caught. He's got long enough arms. His hands are like bloody baseball mitts. You know, he's made some fantastic one-handed catches as it, you know, over the time as he's been an Eagle for us. You know what I mean? So to me, that's effort. That's lack of effort, you know. So that's just I really do like my true honest feelings. I wish he was still an Eagle, but I'm glad he's not because of the I can't cope with the drama. And I know we all love Jalen Hurts. He's a quarterback, and Jalen's not the best quarterback in the NFL. He's not the best quarterback in the world. He's never going to be. But he comes in, he works hard, he goes away every off season, learns from the failures of his previous season, of any mistakes, and he gives it his absolute all to try and become better that year. Does it always work? No, but you can see it in the games that Jalen will give everything he possibly can to win these bloody games. That's why his whole thing is, long as we win, that's all that matters. And that's why you do it, like you guys said, that's what you do as a team. If you're playing a team game, it's about winning. Yes, do you have to win ugly sometimes? You can't always win pretty. You know what I mean? There'll be other Super Bowls that the Eagles will be in going forward where they won't be as pretty as they were against the Chiefs last year, where we were all watching that, you know, year before last, we were all watching that game very comfortable at half time with a very good feeling like, shit, the Eagles are actually going to win this. You know what I mean? There's other Super Bowls that, you know, the Patriots in 2017 and then in 2022, we didn't feel that way. They were nail biting games. You know what I mean? So you can't say that, you know, so just put the effort in. As the difference with Devontae Smith puts the effort in. You know what I mean? Devontae Smith is, if I've made a mistake, I've made a mistake. With AJ Brown, it's not me that made the mistake. It was the throw was, it was underthrown. It was this, it was that. And then, well, you know, maybe don't go, you know, I shouldn't say what I'm going to say, like, because I don't know how true these reports are. But if these reports are true with him cheating on his missus and Hassan Reddick's going after the same time, maybe don't focus on that and focus on, you know, winning games then. You know what I mean? So then that shit isn't transferred into the locker room. And then you'd go to Jalen and you want him to help you out with all the drama. And you know, if Jalen's your best friend, you should know him well enough to know that his singular focus during the season is to win football games. And that's all I've got to say about that as far as
So real quick, Adam, going to about the alleged thing with the masseuse, you know, the love triangle between the masseuse and him and Hassan Reddick. That one thing is undefeated in all time. Women are undefeated, boys. That stuff, I tell you what, we all be put in their hands because that one thing, it's undefeated. So I mean, it's brought many a big man down. So
like, honestly, like, obviously Jalen Hurts will never speak on this because that's just not how he is. AJ Brown played it. But, like, I would love for Hassan Reddick is a free agent right now. He's technically not under contract with any team. Like, I would love for him to just come out and, like at least say, yeah, yay, nay, this is true, this is not true. Like, you know, like you really don't have anything to lose in this situation. I mean, if you look at the parties involved, the one party that doesn't have anything to lose is Hassan. I mean, AJ agrees to it. You know, this happened. It makes him look bad. We know Hurts is never going to speak on it. So if Hassan Reddick says, yeah, it's true, yeah, it's not true, there's really nothing that comes out of it for him. So, like, I feel like he should just come out and say what happened.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
think the one risk on Hassan's end is if he wants to keep playing, I don't know if another team right after
Right.
is going to want to,
mm,
deal with that. Where I think it's a good point. I think it's more likely in like, maybe 2-3 years when he's fully when
I
he's
mean,
fully done.
yeah, I mean, I guess if it is true, it kind of makes sense as to why obviously Hassan Reddick was off the team that after the Super Bowl run, wasn't it? Because it was like, all of a sudden we traded Hassan Reddick to the Jets and what have you,
But
and
I
it
will
was like,
say,
well,
not
it didn't
to
make
interrupt you, Adam.
sense.
I just want to put that out there, not to interrupt you. Like I do, so I do think that two things can be true, and I just want to, like, obviously I know like we're just talking on the speculation, but I do think the main reason Hassan Reddick was traded was because of his contract. Like if we're being like 100, like I real think like he wanted more money, and I think that's the reason why he was ultimately traded. But like this could have like played into like a relationship quandary type of thing. So I do
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
like the
true.
main reason he was traded to the Jets was because like if you look at it, no, like the Jets didn't pay him, the Bucks gave him a 1 year deal, and he's a free agent
Mm,
right now. So he hasn't been paid since then either.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
he's a guy who's just played for so many teams in his career. I think that's kind of just who he is. I mean, for what it's worth, if that stuff is true, like I think we remember like the team did come back and win the Super Bowl the following year. So
Mm,
I think for AJ, it just came down to he just for whatever reason seemed to not enjoy playing with Jalen. He was under the impression of that he was holding him back, and like you go back to the Broncos game example. Like you're never gonna get this. I think you're never gonna get this in a national interview because I think it just like it's a little more Eagles specific, and I think she's phenomenal at her job. I love like Maria Taylor covered college football for years. I mean, she'd
Right,
be
right.
interviewing Nick Saban. I think she's a great interviewer. I would have loved if she, flat out asked like AJ, like if she, had it on a tablet, like had the, interaction in the 49ers game and be like, AJ, like what happened here? And, if we're being honest, did you stop? Did you play with full effort for the rest of this game? Because I feel like that was the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people. Like if you think about it, we can be a pretty forgiving sports town. Like I didn't fully agree with it, but like Orion Kirkering, blew a Phillies season and got a standing ovation on opening day this year. Mitch
mm,
Williams, gave up a walk-off home run in the World Series and sometimes calls in the WIP as a caller
yeah.
and is well liked in the town. Like the one thing I think we have a harder time forgiving is
That's
lack of effort, and I would have
Mm.
loved if that was covered in some form in all the interviews
and
and podcasts that AJ's been doing, and he's
I,
probably not going to agree to do that if you
Right.
ask that, but I think that needs, I hope that even 5 years later gets addressed at some point.
and my biggest thing too with AJ is just I feel like he wants to play like I feel like there's a constant battle like like we've seen the cartoons where it's like the angel and the devil on one shoulder. I think he constantly has that battle going on because ultimately at his heart I think AJ Brown is a good guy and I think he wants to be viewed as a good guy. But
Mm,
I also think that the way he goes about and handles himself, like prime example, right? The Nick Sirianni blow up on the sideline, the situation between him and Jalen, like the locker room antics or stuff like that. Like I know he's a likable person, and that whole likable person thing too is kind of funny to me because like guys like that are likable. Like what I'm saying. Like if we're being like even in our own professions or whatever, like a guy like Jalen Hurts, even in our own professions, like that guy's not likable. Like nobody wants to just hang out with the guy that only cares about work and like work
Yeah.
all the
yeah.
time. He might be the best at his job and makes the most money, but nobody like at work just goes and hangs out in that guy's office. It's the guys that's
No.
joking, fun. So like I feel like the whole relationship, oh, he's more likable. I think that's kind of like overblown. But like I feel like to get back on the AJ point, like I think AJ wants to be viewed as a good guy, but you can't always be viewed as a good guy when you are the way you are. Like you know what I mean? Like the antics is not you can't control the perception of yourself. If you think, talking to the media or doing things this way is going to get results, then you need to lean into that character. But you can't do that and then come back and say, that's not who I am. I really just am a quiet guy. I don't want to do that. You guys think I'm a diva. Like, I'm just misunderstood. Like, no, dude. Like, either you're the rah-rah guy or you're not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do feel bad if he, really, like, I have empathy for when people think they're misunderstood. Like, I feel like a lot of, like, everyone, I feel like to an extent feels misunderstood. But you think about another, like, star Eagles receiver, right? Like T.O., like, I love me some me. Like, I feel like he was more self-aware about it, of like, this is who I am, and I know I cause trouble at times, but I work my ass off, and I feel like AJ was a little more like, like, wait, why are people saying like mean things about me? And it's like you brought some of this on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
definitely has.
that's the difference. I don't know that any of us have ever questioned a lack of effort in the game from T.O. The way it's been questioned with
And he
AJ.
played on one leg in a Super Bowl.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, the lack of effort and then all the other bullshit that's come out. That's why all these stones and slings and arrows are being thrown at AJ. And if he would have, say, during that Broncos game again, that deep shot where it looked like he gave up on the route, and if he just keeps running, it's a touchdown. He should catch it and it's a touchdown. He gave up. The Chargers game with all those catchable passes. There's just so much evidence going back to last year with a lack of effort. It seems like lack of, they took him out on the tush push and stuff like that. They was putting Darius Cooper in to run block because AJ gave zero effort run blocking. That's where it's pissed everybody off. And then on top of that, you come out this week, and what really set me off, and this may sound stupid, and we've all heard Elliot's comments on this, but that Patriots rug that he bought on Amazon 3 years ago. Like, Elliot keeps going back. That's his childhood team. That's his favorite team from his childhood. Okay, so what if it is? Yes, y'all know we're all huge Eagles fans. I have an Eagles wall over here that I normally sit behind when we're doing this show. I hate the Dallas Cowboys with everything in me. As Rios says, screw the sugar blue. But if I would have ever been fortunate enough to have the God-given ability to play professional football, and I were drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, those are the people paying me. That's where and when it was all said and done, maybe I would go back to being an Eagles fan. But once you're playing for a team and you do that, things have to change. You have to give your all for that team. You can't worry about the Patriots. I'm not saying I would get rid of all my Eagles crap and all that stuff, but it's so annoying and ridiculous that he's leaned into it, and that really that had to really piss Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman off when they seen that. Like, oh, I've had that for 3 years. If he had it for 3 years and not 3 days. I kind of agree with what Rhea said on the morning show. He ordered that thing like 2-3 days and had that thing primed into his house in 2 days just to rub it in.
Yeah.
And one more question I've got. I know beyond the shadow, there ain't no doubt in me that sumbitch changed his number to number 1 on purpose. He done it. It's another parting shot at Jalen on the way out the door, and that's another reason he's pissing me off. But anyway,
I don't want to be like the bearer of bad news, but I will say AJ Brown did wear number 1 at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
And then he got drafted to the Titans.
He did.
When he got drafted to the Titans, Warren Moon wore number 1, which is retired.
Retired, yes.
Receivers weren't allowed to wear single-digit numbers until 2021, and by then he was on the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts was number 1. So I will give. I don't want to kill him about everything. I saw that too. But you know what's so funny, real quick, and I'll let Adam go back to get us back on schedule. But what AJ Brown was so ironic about him is that he grew up a Patriots fan and he loves the Patriots so much, but he would not fit into the Patriots that he loves. Like, the Patriots way is not how he behaves. So, like, if Mike Vrabel, like Bill Belichick, like, the Chad Ochocinco types didn't work in New England. Everybody in New England is a cog in the wheel. Like, nobody is bigger than this guy. If all your job is to block for every running play, that's your job. and you better execute it, or Malcolm Butler, you're going to get benched in the Super Bowl. So it's like, that's what's so ironic about him is like, this is the team you grew up loving, but you act nothing like these guys.
Yeah.
I think Antonio Brown lasted like 2 weeks there, right? And then
Yes.
Belichick decided he had enough.
There's only been one number one true receiver that ever made it in New England. That was Randy Moss, who made it for what was it, 2-3 years he was there maybe, and then he forced his way out because he was tired of the Patriot way and everything. But that's it. It's always been Amendolas and Hogans and guys like that. Julian Edelman's. Those are the guys that have thrived in that system. So yeah, if it's really going to be the old Patriot way, I don't know how long AJ will last up there, but I don't think it'll be the old Patriot way.
What sums it up with AJ Brown is that obviously going back to the Super Bowl run where we the year we win the Super Bowl, he wanted out after like week 4. He was that report came out that he was requesting trade after week 4. So it's that early in the season, and he didn't want to give it a chance to see where the season went. He wanted it out. So that just sums him up completely. He's not a team guy. He is all about himself. He is very selfish. So to me, as someone who never wanted AJ Brown to leave this team, I'm glad that he is now, because the crap that he puts out there and that we have to put up with every season, and Ravi was just like, nah, I don't want that no more. You know what I mean? Like I almost wish that they did trade him, because I think that year we were so dominant with Saquon in the run game and the O-line and what have you. I think we still could have gone to the Super Bowl that year and still won it, because our defense was outstanding as well. So I almost wish that he didn't have a Super Bowl just to spite him, just to be that spiteful, petty type of fan. But anyway, no, great points, guys. And so obviously when the trade went down, we were obviously hoping that we get like a first round pick back for AJ and a decent player. I know, like Justin, you obviously mentioned a few times you wanted Keyshawn Boutte, was at the wide receiver for the Patriots. He's a very good player. And I was always of the thing, like I'd like wherever he goes to, I'd like a good trade pick and obviously a good draft pick and a decent player who comes close to matching AJ Brown's sort of like physique and dominance and all that. But we didn't get a player because I think some of AJ's trade value has dipped because of everything that's gone on the last couple of years, the lack of effort, and obviously he hasn't had as much yards as he did early in his Eagles career. So we got back a first round 2028 pick and a 5th round pick. So there's a lot of speculation out there at the moment as to how he can do now going forward. Is he going to wait until the next draft to flip those picks into something else? Or you've got Max Crosby out there. We've seen link into Max Crosby and trade Nolan Smith and give the Raiders the 1st round pick. So how do you guys feel about the compensation we've had back from AJ? And for me, I would have liked to have had a player back from it, but like I said, the trade value obviously wasn't there. It took a long time to do. They had to wait until after June 1st, so we didn't have such a big cap hit. So there's a lot of things that went into it. So how do you guys feel about the compensation, and what do you think how we can do going forward to keep the Eagles obviously in that Super Bowl contention? Drew, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I think the compensation is what I expected. I don't care that it's not in 2027. I honestly think it could be a fun thing of not that we'll forget about it, but almost like, just so many Eagles things like happen. I think, that we just kind of like gravitate to and gets focused on. Like, I feel like I forgot for like a moment at one point that we had like the Jets pick with, like from the Hassan Reddick trade, like their 3rd round pick that obviously I think was a pretty early 3rd. And I think it'll be fun if, that Pats team is struggling a little bit in, 2027. And it's like, oh wait, cool. Like, we not that you would totally forget, but like we still have the pick there. I mean, I think some cool elements to it. The Eagles will play the Patriots in 2027 at the Link, so you have an opportunity to, make the pick higher in that
Oh, that's going to be fun.
in that realm. I did some quick just kind of peeking at future schedules. I think the Patriots that year, but like going into that draft, I think they're going to play like teams in the AFC South, which if you think about it was a pretty good division last year. You had the Jags in the playoffs, you had the Texans in the playoffs. It seems like the NFC East with some young quarterbacks could be competitive, where I think there's some fun elements to there that just gives Howie kind of another chess piece to move around. I would look. I would be potentially interested in. I know it's floating around. I would be potentially interested in the Max Crosby in the Max Crosby trade. I think that's just a tricky one because we don't know like what the medicals say and all. But if you told me right now that he was healthy and the Eagles could trade, say, that pick and Nolan Smith and I don't know, like the 5th round pick for Max Crosby, I'd probably say sign me up. Let's do it. So I think the comp was, given that everyone knew the Eagles were going to trade him, I think the comp was good, and I think it's exciting to kind of move on from there.
Go on, see.
Yeah, and I agree. To get to the whole Max Crosby aspect, I think what helps the Eagles with a trade like Max Crosby is like Myles Garrett went for way less than I think any of us thought. I mean, Jared Verse is obviously a great player. I mean, he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, Rookie of the Year. Like, obviously, he's a better player than Nolan Smith is. But I think that we all probably thought Myles Garrett got traded, it would be at least 2 first-rounders and Jared Verse plus, so I think Max Crosby coming off an injury with the first-round pick and, Nolan Smith, I think that could possibly get it done. One thing to get with the whole trade conversation, I do think that we got, more than I thought. That 5th-round pick was actually a throw-in that I wasn't expecting. I mean, the reports Jeff McClain had, around the combine, the rumors was that the Patriots was only willing to give up a 3rd-round pick. And I kind of, I was reading, his article or whatever, and it kind of made sense. He's like, I wonder how much the whole tampering information, the Diana Rossini thing, and, Mike Vrabel and A.J. Brown saying they talk weekly. He said, I wonder how much Howie used that to his advantage, saying, hey, a 3rd-round pick, yeah, but if you don't want me to go after tampering charges, I'm going to need more. Kind of with the whole
true.
Jonathan
Arizona.
Situation.
Yeah.
With Arizona, he handled that, it didn't go into tampering charges, how he handled it. Give us a draft pick, we'll let it slide. So I wonder if that kind of played into it. But it kind of, I don't know if you guys are huge NBA fans, but one thing about the NBA is they trade a lot of future 1st-round picks, and then you never realize those picks until that year. For example, OKC has been trading 1st-round picks, Oklahoma City for years. So they have 1st-round, they're a championship team, and they're picking in the top 5 because they've traded 1st-round picks years in advance. So I think that kind of aspect kind of makes it fun. But one thing about Howie, I'll say 2 things about Howie. Jalen Hurts, I love a lot, obviously, but having that extra 1st-round pick obviously helps in the aspect of hey, this doesn't work. But I think Howie Roseman also is a very spiteful person, and everyone's going to be talking about, oh, New England, New England, New England, New England. And Howie Roseman is the type of guy that says, yeah, watch this. The Rams trade for Myles Garrett. But, yeah, watch this. I think that he likes to have that, nah, these guys, I'm that guy, So having those extra 1st-round picks, I mean, he pulled the A.J. Brown trade out the hat that nobody saw coming. I think that Howie, when he has those extra tools to work with, usually is successful in that aspect.
Oh yeah, definitely. Howie always makes sure that he's he doesn't have the moment stolen from him. He's got to be involved. That he always finds a good way to do it. Yeah. Just how you feeling about the trade compensation?
Yeah, I go back to what Corey said. All we were hearing the whole time was a 2nd or a 3rd or something like that, And I do think all the tampering stuff played factor into that. I really do, with all that stuff breaking. And I agree with everything Corey said. Howie. We all know he was probably in trying to trade for Myles Garrett. with all the rumors that were flying around with everything. But Howie is very spiteful. He wants to be known as the best GM in the league. So he could hold on to that pick because, like Corey said, we're still not 100% sure about Jalen. But hopefully Jalen, where he's just laser focused this offseason and he's got that giant monkey off his back and hearing AJ chirping in his ear the whole time,
Yeah.
he's going to be able to spread the ball around to everybody, not hear any complaints, not hear any griping and bitching. So maybe this is really the MVP breakout season for Jalen. And we don't have to worry about using those first round picks and possibly getting a quarterback. And we can go after a Myles Garrett sometime near the trade deadline or something like that. And I think Howie's like, oh, you like that? Watch this. I really think Corey hit the nail on the head with that. Oh, really? You like that? Watch what I'm about to do, guys.
One thing just to say on Jalen, and I think when you think about how it seems how unhappy AJ was, I think he does look very good in all this. My one thing that's been percolating in my head is, obviously when you're a rookie, you just kind of keep your mouth shut and do your job. This wouldn't be an issue this year. Makai Lemon, as he grows into his career, if he's a player, strikes me as a guy who, if he's not getting the ball, is gonna let you know about it and not be, and not be shy about it. Where I put like 80%. If I do a pie chart of blame for this situation, like 80% of it is on AJ. Like the rest of the people involved, like Jalen, Nick, like Eagles, even like Eagles management up to Jeffrey Lurie, it's all like distributed pretty smallly. But I do think it is important for Jalen to just kind of like, and we know he's a very like introspective guy who like, thinks about things, can be hard on himself, to just think about like, can I take any lessons from this in terms of kind of like managing receivers and building relationships in the future? Because I maybe I'm totally wrong, but I feel like Makai Lemon is a guy in, like year 3, year 4, if he's not getting the ball, he's going to let you know about it.
Well, also to counterpoint, though, putting him in this organization around a good, solid team, maybe that could help him not, do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Where he sees, hey, it's spreading out evenly. I may not be getting the touches I want, but we're winning. We're winning Super Bowls. We're competing for championships. Maybe being around a team like this that, because AJ, he was the man in Tennessee. But like I think Corey said it on the afternoon show, nobody knew about AJ a whole lot in Tennessee. So I don't know if it was Corey or somebody. We knew he was a good receiver, but he wasn't a national brand until he came to Philadelphia.
The week that AJ Brown got traded, like I think all 3 shows, like Gilio, the midday show, the morning show, afternoon, like I think because this was obviously back when like Angelo was still there. I think they all had a debate that day. Is AJ Brown a top 10 wide receiver? Like I think like 2 or 3 days after the trade went down, so he wasn't always viewed as like the way he's viewed now in Tennessee.
No. Yeah, and 10 in 10 when his time in Tennessee, Derrick Henry, like you said before, on another show, Derrick Henry was the key to that offense when he was the running back. Mike Vrabel likes to run the ball, so just to make AJ Brown aware, if he doesn't already know this, he is going back to his old head coach who likes to run the ball, who likes to play physical brand of football, who's got Drake May, who is he's a good passing quarterback on Ravu. He's shown that it's there, but he can run the ball. He likes to quarterback run the ball as well, So I wonder how long it's going to take for AJ to start getting frustrated if Drake May's not slinging him the ball every pass and they're running the ball down teams' throat to win games. That's going to be really interesting. So I'm going to be, as much as we all need to forget to move on from AJ Brown, obviously when the season starts, I think a lot of us are going to be like keeping an eye on, especially that opening game with the Patriots and the Seahawks, the first game of the season. That's going to be very, very interesting to see how they use AJ Brown. So that is going to be very, very, very interesting going forward. I've lost my train. What was I going to say? I've lost my damn train of thought as we come to the end of the pod. I had something in my head. And it's
Adam,
gone. Drew, go
Adam,
on.
I can jump in with something real quick while you think on it if you want. I'm curious if I set the over under at 2 point in terms of like time AJ Brown spends in New England. If I set the over under at 2.5 seasons, what do you got? What would you guys go over or under? I think it's a really like interesting
I don't
like
think
how
that
long his
AJ
time
Brown.
there is.
I don't think he gets a contract extension there. Like, I think that he'll play out the rest of his current deal, and then he'll probably like hit free agency. Like, they might re-sign him on like another deal, but I think that he'll play the remainder of his contract there, and then after that,
Yeah.
he'll be. I'm not gonna say he'll be like a mercenary, but like I could see him being kind of like not. Like, I'll say Stephon Diggs. Like, I don't think he's Stephon Diggs the person, but like Stephon Diggs after he left, Baltimore, Buffalo, like he's kind of bounced around.
Yeah, like I feel like when you're on your third team going into year 8, you're like already kind of on the way to being a mercenary.
That's the thing. He's older as well. He's had injuries now. He's had a couple of knee problems with the Eagles, haven't he? That have like stunted his training camp, and he missed like the first few games of the Super Bowl year, didn't he? So it's like he's injury prone now. He's getting older. So yeah, I doubt he does get a contract. And if he has any antics in New England, he's not getting a contract extension. Go on, Just.
That was a knock on him in Tennessee because, like, I mean, I did hear it a lot down here, but like he had a lot of hamstring issues when he was down here, and I mean, yeah, I know it's cold in Philly, but it's going to be a hell of a lot colder up there in Boston and New England areas too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of disagree with Corey. I don't know that they would have given a first round pick without there already being discussions of a contract extension because I don't know, man. I hadn't really thought about that. I just automatically assumed that, sometime into the season they'd announce, hey, we've redone a deal, signed him to an extension. But as far as over under 2.5 years, I would put it right at 3 years that he'll probably be there and then he'll move on somewhere else. Kind of like what's his name? The guy that started with the Texans. It was so damn good.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes, DeAndre Hopkins. That's one of the top receivers, and he's just kind of been a mercenary. Wasn't he in Tennessee for a while, and then he was in Baltimore last year. That's why a lot of these guys.
It seems like touchdown against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I think, or a 2-point conversion at least.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these guys, once they hit a spot, man. Odell Beckham, this guy was the top receiver in the league, and now, he's bounced around from team to team and suffered a lot of injuries here late in his career.
Like, I know, like, obviously they're in our division, but the Giants is going to be like a very, very, very interesting team this year.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about the Giants is like having John Harbaugh is good because like they have a lot of personalities in that locker room that he's going to have to manage now.
Yeah.
You have Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham, Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo.
Scatterboo. Yeah, he's going to be healthy.
There, Malik Neighbors, like. You got a Abdul Carter. There's a lot of personalities in that locker room now.
They strike me this year as they're either going to be really good or because of all the personalities, they're just going to crash and burn. Even with John Harbaugh, I think if he can't control all those guys, all those personalities, then they're going to like crash and burn. So they'll either be really good and they'll be an actual threat to the Eagles, or they'll just crash out and burn. So I've found my train of thought. So going back to the thing where would they look to draft a quarterback? I think the Eagles are. I think they've got 100% faith still in Jalen Hurts, despite all the issues that have gone on and what have you. And I think it all bottled down to how long. And this is if obviously Sean Mannion's offense, it gets really clicking, and all we've heard from the interviews and stuff so far is the Sean Mannion's offense is looking very promising. Saquon is speaking well about it. Jalen spoke well about it. Everyone's quite happy there at the moment with how the plans are coming together. So it's all on. If his offense is successful and we're spreading the ball around and we've got a balanced playbook, we're running, we're passing, we're playing good football, then it's all going to come down to Jalen's time in Philly. It could all come down to whether we can keep Sean Mannion as an offensive coordinator, because Jalen's looked his best when he's had more than 1 year of an offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? When we had Shane Steichen for those 2 years, Jalen took a massive leap forward, didn't he? You know what I mean? 2022 was an MVP year, and he hasn't looked terrible since. But and I credit him for adapting to all these new offenses every year. You know what I mean? Working these coordinators, and if things gone perfect, no. But I think it will really help the rest of Jalen's time in Philly if we can keep Sean Mannion now, if he is a good coordinator. You know what I mean? So before we finish, how do you guys feel about it? Do you think that will be the Eagles' biggest problem now going forward, is keeping Sean Mannion as a coordinator? Because whenever you see a good coordinator now, they become a head coach the following year. So before we finish, how do you guys think that's going to shake out with Sean Mannion? Who wants to go? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I think we'll have Mannion at least 2 to maybe 3 years, because this is his first year as a
That's
true
what I'm hoping,
offensive
yeah.
coordinator. Going to be calling plays and stuff like that. And I even if, my God, say we do go on a crazy run and win the Super Bowl, would a team really? I mean, they could want to take a shot on a guy who's only been an offensive coordinator 1 year to lead a team, but I find that difficult to believe. But I mean, in this day and age, who knows? But
I mean, the Eagles
2 to
hired
3 years, I think, top.
I said the
Go
Eagles
on,
hired.
Paul.
I said the Eagles hired Nick Sirianni, so there's always a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a chance. There is. There's always a desperate team out there, Cardinals type team, somebody like that. That's always, a bottom cellar dweller in their division.
Yeah.
Seems like year in, year out. But I mean, at least 2 years, I would think.
Yeah, I just think it would benefit them to really try and not that they wouldn't have offered Kellen more, some money to stay and not become a head coach, you know what I mean? But I think they really need to, if they really value Jalen that much, then and Sean Mannion becomes a really good promising coordinator, then you've got to hold on to him for that continuity going forward. You know what I mean? That's what the Eagles need now. After all this drama now, we've got a new chapter. Let's move on. Let's build an actual, coaching regime that can keep building the Eagles dynasty going forward, So who wants to go next? Drew, Cole?
Drew can
Corey,
go.
you can go, and then I'll jump in after you if you want.
I'll go last. So, I mean, I'm very skeptical still about Sean Mannion. Like, I love the Sean Mannion love, but it's always the guy after the guy that people falls in love with. So it kind of makes me nervous. Like, I mean, Kevin Patullo, I think everyone hated. So now Sean Mannion is like the guy who replaces him. So I just hope that theory isn't, put the test here, the guy after the guy, So, like, I think Sean Mannion said some good things. I do think he's a smart football mind from what I've heard, from what I've read. I just personally feel like I know this Eagles fan base. I know the Eagles and the Philadelphia media market really well. And I just feel like if we struggle early, it's like everyone is all, the honeymoon phase now. And like I know like who's gonna be the blame? Is it gonna be Hurts? Is it gonna be Sirianni? Is it gonna be Mannion? Like I just know like
it's a good point.
If this team starts, 2-2, God forbid, 1-3 or 0-4, like it's not gonna be good.
Oh no, heads are gonna roll early there, definitely. And me, I react off my emotions, and I'm like every day when the Phillies play, I'm really, really pissed off, or I'm really happy, and my emotions are all over the shop all the time. So yeah, that's a really good point, Cole. Drew, do you want to finish us off with your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. So this is just like tea leaf reading and maybe like overthinking some comments. Look, like we don't have like, actually Corey might have sources. I don't have like sources. This isn't like reporting. My read on the situation is I think Jeffrey Lurie loves Jalen Hurts and would like him to be the quarterback for the next 10 years. I think Howie might be a little more on the fence. And I think in that instance, Jeffrey's, decision-making and words carry weight, but we know, he trusts Howie and all. So I think as those guys, and they don't talk as frequently, I think that's just something interesting to monitor. In terms of Mannion, I'm like Corey. I was a little, skeptical of like the hire when it happened, but I think the best thing you can hope for is a case like Ben Johnson, where I'm pretty sure after the 2023 season, when the Lions were really good, almost went to the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure the Commanders wanted to hire him. And for whatever reason, maybe he didn't like Josh Harris. I don't think they had Jaden Daniels at the time. Maybe he just didn't feel great about the situation. I'm pretty sure he was supposed to get on a plane to go there for a final interview.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was meant to go meet them. Yeah.
Backed out of it and stayed for another year, and then obviously got the Bears job, which seems to be a good fit. So I think the hope with Mannion is he's really good, which gives him, leverage. And then if he wanted, he could, have time to pick between, where he wants to go, not just jump at the first offer. The biggest thing to me that stood out about him so far is just he seems to me like a guy who I think can handle criticism. One thing I always think about Patullo is that I think it was a Richard Sherman clip that went around, because Richard Sherman knows Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Patullo had a relationship from the Jets. And I remember just a report that it really seemed like all the fan criticism and just the online stuff had really gotten to Patullo. And sometimes you don't know this until it happens, but Mannion struck me as a guy who was I'm confident in my process. I trust what we're doing, and I'm going to do my thing and not let that get to me. So I think that's, what you're hoping for there.
Yeah, he's definitely given a good impression of himself from his interviews and stuff so far, which is encouraging. But obviously now we need to see how his playbook looks on the field when the season starts, because we're not going to see much of it in the preseason. They're not going to show their hands, so it's it's going to be really interesting. So so that's it for this week. So we've obviously our next podcast now, we've got some fun segments that we're going to start to introduce, which is going to be really cool. But to finish us off, obviously last time we all sat around picking our favorite chocolate and candy bars and stuff. So just what is on the cards this week? I believe it's something to do with movies. Is it just?
Yeah. I don't know how much y'all are into movies, but as everyone who's ever watched this pod knows, I'm a huge movie guy. All I watch are movies and sports. That's yeah. I mean, Corey's been sleeping through the pods the whole time. But my question for you guys is: say between the ages of 5 and 13, what was your go-to movie that you just absolutely, you couldn't watch it enough? It was your thing. You loved it. And what inspired me for this was me and my wife went yesterday and watched the new Masters of the Universe movie. I was a big He-Man guy when I was a kid. I loved the He-Man cartoon and toys and everything. So it was a fun movie. If y'all like Guardians of the Galaxy, stuff like that, it was kind of resemblance of that. It was fun. But so going to start with Drew. So between, say, like I said, the ages of 5 and 13, what was just your favorite childhood go-to movie that you couldn't get enough of?
Yep. So I was a Lion King baby. I just remember wanting to, watch it nonstop on VCR or whatever the technology was back then. I think I was born in 90, and I just looked it up to verify. I think it came out in 94. So I was right around that 4, 5 range. And I could just watch that on repeat, multiple times a day, multiple days in a row. Shout out to Simba and Nola. Hey, great couple there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good pick. Corey, what's yours, brother?
Okay, so this might be, I don't know how many of you guys know this movie. So growing up, I was a huge Land Before Time movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember Land Before Time. Yeah, wow.
I gotta check that out.
Those are my
great.
Movies. It was and they had multiple of them, so I was a big fan of them.
All right, good choice. All right, Adam, it's up to you now, dude.
This obviously came out years before I was born in 91, but this was, this had been out years. But I remember my father I always used to nag my father to take me to the video shop, in my area. And I was always wanted to rent Star Wars Return of the Jedi. I loved, I
Yep.
loved, but it was always Return of the Jedi. You know, the last one. It wasn't the first. I rented the first two, you know, on VHS and stuff. But Return of the Jedi was my favorite. I think it was like the lightsabers, the green and the red
Yep.
lightsabers, and it was like Luke Skywalker finally battling Darth Vader. You know,
Yep.
and then obviously I always loved the ending when Vader like turns on Palpatine and
Yep.
you know, he throws him down the shaft and Ravu, and there's like the big thing. And I'll sneak one in. It just came to me now. I loved, I don't know, it's like a Disney film now, but like and I haven't had my kids watch it yet, but I love the Homeward Bound films.
Ah,
The
Yeah.
with the dogs.
Yep.
Dog,
The
Yep.
two
The
dogs
dogs
and the
and the
cat.
listen,
Yep.
my
Yeah.
son wasn't allowed to watch that movie for like 6 months because every time he watched it, he got so emotional and cried. So I was like, no more
Yeah.
watching this movie.
I loved Homeward Bound. I really did. Yeah, as I haven't had my kids watch it yet because I think it's a bit too, they'll get a bit too emotional, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, so definitely
So
Homeward Bound for me as well with Star Wars.
so everybody knows I'm quite a bit older than you guys. I was born in '77, so you know I'll be 49 coming up here in September. But I remember a time, you know, we would rent a VCR, you know, and it was a treat because VCRs were outrageously expensive back in the day. I think they were like $500-600.
A
So
VCR.
it was a treat. We would.
Do you still own a VCR, Justin?
I do have a VCR. I don't use it, but I
Love
have
that.
one.
Wow.
But we would rent a VCR, and it was a treat, you know. And my mom and dad they'd rent a couple of movies that they would watch, and they'd let me and my sister pick out movies. And the first movie I ever remember crying at was E.T.
It's a
But
good one.
Oh yeah, E.T.'s good. Yeah.
the second movie that ever absolutely broke my heart and destroyed me was Rocky Four. Apollo
Yeah.
Creed dies. Dude, we would go
Yeah.
to the video store. My sister, she would get Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles or Footloose and stuff like that. It never failed, boys. Rocky 4 was my go to. I absolutely, all the montages, the training montage, the driving the
Yeah.
car in
Can't
Philly
beat that.
montage where he's, after Adrian tells him, you can't win, and he's got the Southpaw, you know, license plate and everything. Rocky is my all-time Rocky 4, I'm sorry, is my all-time childhood go-to movie.
Yeah.
I cried like a 6-year-old that shit his pants on the playground when Apollo died, guys. I was
Yeah.
distraught.
It's
And it
Rocky.
was
Rocky 4 has to be the best one of the series. Definitely. I
3
love
or
Rocky
4
The
for me.
soundtrack's
Yeah.
amazing.
One thing that's
Yeah.
like great too about like the whole movies thing. Obviously, Justin, you've been through this because you're older than us, and Owen is 20. But like us
Yeah.
three, like have like younger kids. Like when you're able to like get your kids to watch movies that you grew up watching, that's like the
Yep.
best feeling.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
You ain't-
can't wait to get Eddie to like start watching Star Wars and the Marvel
Yeah.
films and stuff. Now
Right.
I can't wait for that. It's gonna be
Hey,
awesome.
every opening day I watch Field of Dreams, and I'm hoping my kid like my
The
son like
Phillies
baseball.
are playing
and he'll
the
watch it
Field of
with
Dreams
me.
game this year as
Yeah.
well, aren't they? The
Yeah.
Phillies are
Yeah.
playing, so can't
I
wait
think
for
the
that.
Twins, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
gonna be awesome.
I've said it to y'all before. I'll say it again, boys. Enjoy them moments while you can, because Corey said it. Mine's 20 now, and he's got a girlfriend, and he's laying in there like an Alabama tick. So me and him we really don't get to hang out as much anymore and go to the movies. You know, we used to go to the movies all the time, and we'd sit around the house and watch movies and sports and stuff. And he's kind of preoccupied with that one thing that's undefeated, boys. It's
Yeah, the one
undefeated,
thing
like
that's
I told
undefeated.
y'all.
Yeah,
So
he's
great pod
definitely
today, boys.
loved up at the minute, isn't he? Good on
Oh
Owen.
yeah,
Good for
he's
him.
loving life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on that note, we'll end it there. Really good to end it on a nice positive note there, because obviously it's been a tough, strange few weeks in Philly sports. So it's onwards and upwards. Training camp is soon. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another pod. We'll check in on the Phillies. We'll check in on the Eagles, and we'll get into some more of that. So lots of exciting stuff. So we'll be starting a new segment sections, which is going to be really, really fun. So yeah. So thanks, boys. really good pod, and it's been a really good one. So just give us a like, a follow, and subscribe on YouTube, on all our social channels. We've rebranded now. I got into the AI thing of making a new picture and stuff for us, because I wanted to get
Looks
Corey and
good.
Drew's names
Great
on the
logo.
pod and stuff.
Yes,
So
sir. Looks
that
great.
was fun. So rebranded, and we're back in the mix. So so thanks, boys. So give us a like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll see you all soon. Go Birds.
Go
Love y'all.
Birds.
Man.
Go Birds.